Hello, welcome to this week's podcast episode. Today we're going to talk about outgrowing your past. I have outgrown my past many, many times, and when I was especially younger, like my early 20s, it was always really sad. Not to say that it's not now too, but it's just become an easier thing to deal with. And I just want to kind of go over some of the feelings associated with that and help you move through it, because when you are growing in any type of way and you're adjusting your mindset, because you want to start a business or you want to start creating art and you want to do something you've never done before, you want to start over, that comes with letting go of some of your old identities and replacing them with new ones that are more suitable for who you're becoming. Not to say that parts of you can't come with or parts of you can't come back around later, but sometimes you have to let them go for a period of time. And if you've ever felt proud of like how far you've come, but like a weird sadness that comes along with it, it's because you're transforming, and it's not a failure. It's like you're in this in-between space of not really being who you used to be, but not really being who you want to be yet. And that spot, it's typically referred to as like a liminal space, where you're just kind of like in between worlds, and it can be very uncomfortable because we're so used to having certainty of like, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is where I've been for the last however many years. And so when your old life hasn't completely ended or just freshly has ended and your new life hasn't really started yet, that can cause like this huge sense of discomfort in our bodies, especially like if you're anything like me. If you're prone to feeling in control of your life, it can really feel hard and really throw you off. And it can feel confusing, it can feel lonely, you can be very emotional, everything feels kind of uncertain. But during those periods of time is when our brain actually has the opportunity to rewire the most. It's very potent because all of this newness is happening and we're experiencing like a novel situation. So you actually want to take advantage of this time by doing a few special things. It's very important to focus on the power of your mind during this time. What you feed your mind becomes what you believe. And so in this space, if you're full of doubt and full of fear, you're going to start, I don't want to say necessarily it's your fault that you're manifesting it, but you're going to notice more bad things happening in your life. You're going to notice how things aren't working out for you. What I would prefer for you and myself going through these periods of life is that we focus on what's going right and what the good outcomes and possibilities that could come from this period of time. So how I do that is, number one, find people who support your new identity. So make some new friends, get into some new networking programs, situations where you will meet people who are already at the identity that you want, and get around them because they're going to help you transform and feel comfortable in that new life. Whereas people who have never tried it or who are uncomfortable with it are just going to try to maybe bring you back to their reality, not because they don't want to support you, but because that's what feels safe to them. So support your new identity with new friendships and make sure that you're spending time around people like that. If you can't do that in real life, find people online, consume their content, put that into your brain instead of the fear-based thoughts. I also would recommend it with consuming content associated with like a new identity. You can also do that with music. You can do that with movies. You can do that with books. What I love to do the most, which would be like number 2, is I create my own affirmations on this app called Think Up. I'm not affiliated with them. I just bought it one time. And you can record your own voice saying affirmations into it. So I create affirmations around the new identity that I want to have. And I will put them in my ears and listen to them when I'm sleeping at night or before I fall asleep. And this works like insanely well. I feel like I've manifested a lot of things in my life by doing stuff like that. And I didn't know that it, like, at the time I didn't realize it would work so well. But like, I wanted a house with a rooftop, got a house with a rooftop. I wanted a specific car, got that specific car. I wanted my kid to have like a very particular type of childcare situation, got it. And all of these things happened like several months after listening to those affirmations. So now I like wholeheartedly believe that affirmation work does a lot to rewire your brain. And if you can do it in that time period where you're facing uncertainty, it's going to really help you shift and adjust your mindset to the good opportunities, to the good things that could come from this change instead of feeling all that fear. The other thing that I think is important during this time, number 3, is grounding into the things that make you who you are, that have stayed with you throughout every life change. There's going to be parts of you that change and shift and evolve always, but there's also going to be parts of you that have probably stuck around since you were young. For me, one of the biggest ones was like my health and fitness. That's been around for a long time for me. And so when I went through postpartum, like that totally changes your world, right? Like everything changes. And that was the one string. It was like the one and only string that could connect me back to my past. And then a few years went by and I got out of the like postpartum blur. And then I was able to pick up on like, oh, art is one of my strings. Let me get back into art. Getting out in the sun is definitely one of my strings. And so I would get back outside. Dance is obviously a big part of my life. And so like I brought all of that back into my life again once I was out of the blur. So if you know what those strings are, they can help you get through that period of uncertainty. When your life changes like this, it often does show up at the same time with grief. You're going to grieve maybe people that are in your life, identities that you used to have, jobs you really loved. Like there's situations that you may have really, really enjoyed that have to change. And I think that finding a good outlet for that grief is really important, whether that is moving your body or creating something. I think art is a good place to put that. Even if you don't feel like you're an artist, just make something, because it will help move. When you make art, you tap into like the subconscious emotional body that you have, and it allows things to move through you better than trying to think your way through them. So even if you're not an artist, go paint, go do something that you are drawn to, that you are curious about, and allow it to move through your body. When you outgrow your past, it's like I kind of said before, it's like outgrowing identities, people, relationships, versions of yourself. And when when those things no longer fit, it can feel uncomfortable because your nervous system felt safe there. Your body and brain felt safe in those situations or in those relationships, comfortable on some level, even if they weren't the best for you. So it can feel like you're losing something, even though you're on the path to getting something better or replacing it with something that's more aligned for you. This type of growth will ask you to release what once comforted and protected you, so that you can make space for the right thing that's coming in. And I think I'll make a meditation on this, because sometimes I don't think we even really know what it is that we need to let go of. So we'll do a meditation where you can like get quiet, and I'll ask like the prompting questions. And with meditations like that, sometimes it comes up immediately when you're sitting there, and sometimes you'll see it over the next week just by paying attention. Like, oh, this relationship isn't serving me anymore. Like, oh, this habit that I have is making things tricky in my relationships. I have to let it go. We also can feel a lot of guilt for growing, especially outgrowing people that we love very much, but maybe they don't have the capacity to go where we're going. And it can feel like abandonment of who we used to be, or abandonment of the people that we love. But I want to remind you that that type of growth is not a betrayal. And you can honor your past without getting stuck there. If you stick around in a situation to make other people comfortable or to get acceptance and love from them, eventually you're going to resent those people, even though they didn't necessarily ask you to do that for them. You just know that they don't want you to change. And then you're also going to resent yourself for not listening to your own intuitive guidance of what you wanted to do. Denying yourself that growth that your soul desires is self-abandonment, or at least a form of it. And I believe that the world around us, like our 3D reality around us, manifests that physically when we're not picking up on how much we're doing that to ourselves. So, like, this obviously is a very personal version of this, but when I went through some deep betrayals in my life, I came out of that very angry. I was like, why did this happen to me? Like, I was so confused because I just loved the people around me so much. I'm like, how did I get here? And then over the course of like 3 years, I realized how often I betrayed my needs, how often I put everything else before what I needed and what I wanted, and how much I was abandoning my inner world and myself. And so it made sense to me after that. I was like, okay, not that I called this in, or not that it is my fault, but I can see how my habits and beliefs about myself may have led me into situations where I was easily betrayed. And that is a hard realization to come to, and it takes time. But it really made me take a look at how I live my life and change it. Even if that type of growth makes other people uncomfortable around me, I'll never deny my soul's growth for another person ever again, because that physically manifested into my life, and that was hard. And I'm grateful for it because it taught me so much. So, like at the time, sure, it was painful, but now I'm like, okay, I'm glad it happened. Like, now I know better. And I think that can also happen even not just in relationships, but also in like workplace situations. Like, it doesn't have to come from a relationship. It can come from many different areas to teach you the lesson that you should choose yourself and love yourself and choose the growth. So let's get into some journal prompts. This one's kind of a heavy episode, I'm sorry, but it's very important to look at this stuff because this is the kind of shit that holds you back long term. So, shout out to every single one of you that listens and does this every week, because it's so important to do this part of your growth, and you will get to a place where life feels more playful again. But once you are willing to acknowledge like your shadow side, and just become friends with it more or less, life gets a lot easier because then you're not operating out of these subconscious bad habits that are overruling your life in a negative way. Okay, so first question, what parts of my old life am I grieving even though I've outgrown them? And really allow yourself that space to grieve them too. Like, this is where I get a lot of my songwriting from, is where I know things are shifting, but something still hurts or something's still there. And so I'm like, oh, let me write about it. Let me put it somewhere outside of my body. I think that really helps. Number 2, what did my past self give me that I can thank her for? Also, there are parts of your past self that you might have to let go, but they can come back around. I kind of said that in the beginning. Like, I used to be a big party girl, and when I had to stop doing that, I was really sad because it was such a big part of my life, and all my friends were like in that same place, but I knew that it would be better for me long term if I wasn't like that. And so I really shut her out for a long time. I'm like, you're not allowed here. But in the last few years, I have let her come back into my life differently. Like, the party girl is just the fun, playful version of me that didn't control so much, didn't care so much, and had more fun. And I was like, okay, you still are allowed to be here. I just can't let you run my life and have me make impulsive, reckless decisions, right? So just like last week's episode where we balanced logic and intuition, it's like sometimes you can allow versions of yourself to come back around later once you've learned how to work with that version of your energy. Number 3, what in my life no longer fits the person that I'm becoming? There are very obvious things that you will hear immediately or think of immediately when you answer this question, but I also want you to think of your beliefs and habits and even like your thought patterns. Those are important because your thought patterns sort of create your beliefs, and then your beliefs create what you think you're worthy of, and that determines what action steps you take, who you let in your life, what jobs you choose to have. So your thoughts are very important in that. Number 4, what excites me about my future that I haven't fully stepped into yet? And that part can feel kind of scary, but practice that. Visualize yourself stepping into that so it feels more comfortable. We've talked about that a little bit before. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the next question, which is, how can I support myself in this in-between season? You'll have your own ideas of this. You know yourself the best. But if I can recommend, like I said before, find your strings, do your affirmations, call on friends that support your new identity, and spend a lot of time with them. Sometimes in that, you also might need to like spend less time with people who don't support your change, just for a period until you strengthen into being able to say, this is who I am now. And that's that, essentially. Because sometimes like you just don't need their doubt in your ear for a little bit. So remove yourself from those situations when you can. The grief that comes with these kinds of changes, it doesn't mean that you're going backward. It just means that you cared a lot, and that's okay. It's not that you're ungrateful for what was in your life. You're brave for changing it, trying something new. I do think gratitude is a good way to stay grounded with all of the things that are changing. Find things to be grateful for. And these liminal spaces, they're temporary, and one day you'll feel solid in your new identity again. So don't feel like the rest of your life is going to feel like this. Take it one day at a time and just know that this is just a moment. It's not permanent. And also, like, you couldn't make it happen immediately if you tried, and sometimes that unfolding process is really fun if you can bring your own playful energy into it and release the need to control it. Easier said than done. But that's okay. Your growth can be both exciting and bittersweet, and just make sure that you honor your past while you welcome in your present. It's okay. You can love what was and still be excited about what is coming. So, all right, that's outgrowing your past. Let me see. Next week, we're going to talk about building a healthy work ethic, because burnout usually comes from not having enough ambition, and having too much ambition usually comes from the same fear. So we're going to talk about what that fear is and how to squash it. So I'll see you next week, and I hope you guys have a great week. I love you so much. Bye.